Day 6 of buying my reseller warehouse. This is the continuation of my little story of this journey from being in this leased warehouse space for almost 6 years and now buying my own building that we are moving into this month of January here in 2026. Just want to share a couple more stories to fill in the details. One of the things about this whole journey that has been a real struggle, and might be a struggle for you if you ever get on this, is finding a realtor that will actually give you the time of day. Now, I've never had that experience when it comes to buying a house. The realtors in this residential have always been very, very eager to help you, very, very eager to show you different places. But it's been an interesting journey in this commercial real estate lane, in that it took a long time to find somebody who would actually, help me and give me the time of day. Literally, I think the first person that was recommended to me, and I try to do a lot of things through referral, and during these stories as I share over this 30-day challenge, you'll probably hear some more of these people who I worked with them because I had a reference from someone that I knew personally and then trusted their judgment. So the first person that I started to work with, he actually did come over to the warehouse and sit on the couch and talk to me, was a commercial real estate agent who was recommended to me by somebody. And it's one of these things where you exchange a few emails, then you don't hear anything, then you don't hear anything. And part of it is that I think in the very beginning, my timeline, I was trying to be on top of it. So literally, I think at the end of 2024, very, very beginning of 2025, when I was starting this journey, that's when I tried to engage a real estate agent. But I don't know if it was me telling them, okay, my lease expires at the end of August, so that's kind of my drop dead date when I need to be out. If that spooked them, or what I suspect more was that I just wasn't a big enough fish. They're looking for people who are going to spend millions of dollars and buy a really big piece of property. And so to find someone who would deal with somebody like me was a bit of a challenge. And so I literally went from that person, didn't hear anything from them. I got another recommendation for another person. That person sporadically talked to me on the phone, never met me in person, just talked to me on the phone. Every once in a while they'd send me an email on a property that most of them that they sent me were just totally not what I was looking for, like super beat up buildings that were just totally trashed, or things that were just way too far away and distant. So that didn't work either. Then eventually I mentioned what was going on with a guy that, one of those guys who was a real super local, like his family history goes back into the 1800s. And I saw him at a scouting event in March, and I kind of told him what was going on with me looking for a commercial building for my business. And so he was very helpful. He gave me the name of a guy that he knew here in the local community who had built a lot of warehouse type buildings and flex buildings and had started to sell some things off, and didn't know what the guy had, but would give me his contact information and kind of connect me. So I used that reference to then get up with this guy named Roger, and this was in March. Now this, as I tell this whole story, there's like a whole chapter of the book on this guy, Roger. I'll probably record one of these videos outside the building that Roger had me come look at. But essentially, just to keep it short, I'll tell you that for about really 3 solid months, I was dangling between Roger. I went over there 4 different times, talked to him on the phone, got my wife to go over there. And essentially Roger's situation was he had built these buildings, but he's up in his 70s, and he was wanting to kind of sell off some of his buildings. And so they weren't listed for sale. This is kind of a red flag, right? They weren't listed for sale with a realtor. This was all going to be sort of like just a little private transaction. And, going into this as someone who had done all of these deals, right? The SanteeSwapper, right? I'm doing all these deals for all these collections I buy. That didn't intimidate me at all. This idea of like doing a deal with a guy, leaving out the realtor and their fees, and just making an offer. And in my mind at first, he was kind of holding my hand to get me a property. But there was complications, and again, I'll save that for another day. So I flirted with him, and you know, sort of ended in frustration. Literally my last phone call from him was later in the summer, and he sort of had a Hail Mary where he was like, oh, this guy, I might, you know, and if you're still interested, and you know, this sort of thing. And then I never heard from him again. Like literally, it's been probably, I don't know, 5 months since I've heard from that cat. So you know, rest in peace. I don't know what happened there, but that's okay. But interestingly enough, Roger had told me about another person who owned a couple of units in that warehouse facility, who was moving, who had bought a property, and seemingly might be interested in selling his 2 properties, because these little flex spaces, you know, you kind of get like a little rectangular shape with a roll-up door in the back and a little office space in the front. And so I thought, okay, well, with 2 of those together, maybe it would work out. And so I met with this guy, just kind of like cold call, went and knocked on the door. I had a letter typed up where I basically, you know, made him an offer based on what this guy Roger was talking about as far as per square footage and stuff. And the guy was super nice. He literally, they had bought a big building. His company had been very successful in the area, and they were leaving behind what had been kind of their starter, you know, place that he had. But he told me, he said that he needed to talk to his wife and his CPA and kind of find out, you know, were they going to sell it? Were they not going to sell it? Again, all this was without a realtor. It was just sort of, you know, deals on the table, maybe. And so he was super nice. So he did call me back the next week, and we talked, and basically his CPA said that he needed to lease the building out and not sell it. And a lot of that has to do with you know, the whole tax law and everything. If you sell a building, you get hit with all kind of tax liabilities if you're not buying another building, whatever. I don't know what all that, you know, what his situation was, but it gets a little complicated sometimes. So then from there, I was Googling, found another listing. At this time, I still didn't have my own realtor. I found a listing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I'll do a little separate video about that. This time I called the realtor. This was listed for sale. I called that realtor who was the listing agent and spoke with her, went over and saw the building, got my employees to go see the building, got my wife to go see the building, had the whole thing, went through the whole thing of like making an offer. And literally I made an offer like the day or a couple days before. I was going to go on a week-long camping trip with my son and my good friend Colin and his daughter. And so while I was gone, you know, it was one of these things of like, I'm out camping, I can go to the camp office to connect to Wi-Fi or make a phone call, but otherwise I'm disconnected. And that whole week, you know, I'd go up every morning just kind of checking like, excuse me, I haven't heard back yet. I wonder what's going on. And finally, by Friday, I called the real estate agent, and she told me that there had been another offer, and that the other offer was for more, you know, for more money, and so asked if I would do a counter offer. So I counter offered a little bit more, and you know, I didn't get it. The other people got it, and that was so ironic for lots of reasons. But one is that this property had been for sale for over a year. It started off really highly priced because of where it is in Charlotte, and it kind of been discounted. So of course I came in with a lower offer, as one would if a property had been listed for a year. And you know, for whatever reason, it just karma or how the world works. Right when I am, you know, making my offer, there's this other party who has looked, and they make an offer and competing against each other, and they went with the other people. So, you know, it was at that point I was pretty deflated because my lease here was running up in ending in August. And so I was going to be stuck with having to reach out to my landlord, who again, I've never met, although I've talked to him on the phone a few times, and try to go month to month because there's no way I was going to find anything that quickly. During that time of despair, I also started just looking at other places to lease, again, thinking I needed to get out of here. I started really flirting with the idea of just leasing another property. And so I looked around in this surrounding area and actually toured 2 or 3 properties. None of them were great. None of them were much bigger than this, or you know, any better necessarily. And you know, the prices weren't anything that much better either. So flirted with that a little bit. And coming back to the guy I mentioned, who the first guy there, he shared with me, because he'd gone out and bought a building, so he shared with me who his realtor was that he used, because that was kind of where I ended up. I was trying to kind of do this whole process where I started off trying to be very traditional, getting a realtor. I literally, I'm not even making this up, I think I went through 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5 commercial realtors that I talked to on the phone, that I emailed back and forth with, and eventually they just kind of flamed out. Like, I mean, not even, there wasn't much to make it like a spark. There wasn't much of a flame to flame out on. They just were not gonna take me seriously, or we're not just gonna, you know, really, you know, help me do this. I mean, to me, if you're the realtor and you're gonna make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on an expensive building, you know, you gotta do some damn work, you know, and none of them ever came over and met me except for the very first guy. And yeah, just, you know, so anyways, I finally did connect with this realty group that he put me onto, and sent an email, said, you know, this guy reference, you know, again, referral, you know, this guy, talk to, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I got connected to the guy who eventually is going to help me find the building. And so his name is Tucker. Shout out to him if he ever watches this video. So Tucker, young guy who grew up in the Charlotte area, and he was with this realty group. So he met with me, kind of saw what I needed, and instantly set up a couple of things for us to go look at, and then stayed in contact with me a lot. We went and looked at several properties. One of them we were trying to get, and again, I'll share some pictures of this later. We made an offer on a property that was off market. The owner wasn't ready to sell. So we kind of, you know, flirted with all that. And then eventually I found a property that, or we together, you know, going through the listings, found a property that was kind of interesting to me. It was close, very, very, very close to my house, but it was not a great condition. We went to go see that building, and it was just beat to hell. It was really bad, but it was so close to my house and cute little town of Matthews, where we live. So it didn't even make an offer on that building because it just wasn't going to work. So that next day or that night, I got online and started poking around, and that's where I found the place that I eventually got. And I think I've already shared that story. So that's kind of just catching you up. You know, this whole journey, I'm a little bit scorned, obviously, although Tucker and Thomas, his co-worker, they have definitely redeemed the realtors in my eyes. But that, you know, if you ever go down this rabbit hole, this journey that I've been on, that would be my advice to you, is you really need to figure that out. Who can you trust? Who can give you the time of day? Who has a lot of respect? Who understands what your needs are? And man, I struggled to find that person. I really did. And I tried for months to do it on my own without a realtor. And you know, that was just always, it was almost like Lucy and the football, you know, like I thought the football was there, and I was running up to Charlie Brown, kick that ball, and man, Lucy just kept pulling the ball out. And so I just kept missing. I kept missing on all these properties that I would talk to the owner, and there was this sort of him and haw, and yeah, maybe, and la la la, and it just never came to fruition. So anyways, let me just give you the quick catch up of day 6, tell you what we've done, and we'll wrap this this installment up. So day 6, 7:30 in the morning, I met the electricians at the new building. Nice guys. They started demoing everything, taking it all down. I also met another guy who I've worked with, who's sort of a contractor type guy. You know, these people sort of like do a little bit of everything. He came over there as well this morning, and we were looking at installing some countertops. There's this one area we'd like to turn into a little bit of like a break room, where we could have a countertop with a coffee maker, a little microwave, you know, that sort of stuff, and a sink where you could like wash your dishes. That's one of the weird things in this building that I'm buying, or that I have bought now. There was not really, there were bathrooms, there were 3 bathrooms over there, but there wasn't really like a sink where you could like wash dishes or anything, or, you know, have a obvious space for like a microwave or something. So anyways, he's going to help me put that in, and we looked at some other little things that he could help fix. Then I went to an appointment. I came back. We've been loading up this truck. Let me give you the ones over here. Whoa, we are almost full. We got a little bit of space here to go. Now, my daughter, I'm gonna try to remember her exact quote. She's been helping me today, and I'll try to include a little film here of us loading the truck. She had a funny little thing she said maybe about 20 minutes ago. She said, "Is there anything on that truck that's worth anything?" essentially she's like, have I just been loading shit into this truck? And it struck me because at first in my mind I'm like, oh no, there's lots of good stuff. And then I did realize one thing, and then I'm almost embarrassed to say this on camera. So nothing on this truck, on this 24-foot essentially U-Haul truck, is actually listed live for sale on the internet. Everything that's listed for sale on my eBay store, which we have about 90,000 individual items listed in my eBay store, is all still in the warehouse. None of it's on this truck because I'm pretty determined we're not going to turn the store off and do time away. We're just going to keep it all running so we can keep our sales. And then over MLK weekend, where we have that natural built-in Monday off, and the post office is closed, so there's no ding on your late shipping rate, that's when we're going to move the live listed inventory. So when she said that, and then I started thinking about it, I was like, God, she's kind of right. Like there isn't anything in this entire 24-foot truck that's actually for sale. So then I started thinking like, oh my gosh, like, you know, mentally, you know, you get this little thing in your head, like mentally, is this a 24-foot truck death pile? Like that kind of struck me like, oh my gosh, do I have that much stuff that's not listed? That's just, and you know, some of this is like office supplies, paper, you know, printers, whatever, all the stuff that you need for your business. But a lot of these totes are, you know, just scouting memorabilia that I have not gone through or haven't listed, or, you know, I've got totes full of like canteens and all the equipment that you would do, that a scout would have, or uniforms that I haven't listed. So like, son of a bitch, I do kind of have a 24-foot truck of a death pile, or a money mountain. Glass half full, not half empty. So anyways, I will not admit to her that her words kind of like stabbed me, because then that'll be the story for the rest of this. You know, Dad made me pack this whole truck full of shit, and you know, I don't want that to be the history of this this family piece. So anyways, but all that to say, when I get to the new building and I have more than twice the space that I have here, I definitely will have the ability then to spread this stuff out and get it reorganized and kind of crank things up. So I am not immune from having death piles or death mountain trucks. I don't know what you call this, but hey, I'm just being real. I said I'd take you guys on the journey, and so there we are. So day 6 of buying my reseller warehouse. Everything else is going on schedule. Tomorrow we will finish this up. I'll go let the electricians in. They did a good job today. They took down all of the existing lighting in the main room and started demoing that. So a lot of progress there. I met with the CPI security guy over there a little while ago. I have a security system. We're going to carry my service over there. So we got that all figured out, and we have a date for them to come in and install the security system. So yeah, a lot of good progress for day 6. I'm really happy. So Jason Spangler, I go by SanteeSwapper on eBay. Thanks for watching, and make sure to leave some comments if you want to ask some questions about this process or help guide me as I'm recording these videos and things that I can talk about. And then also, this is a series, a 30-day challenge. So, you know, start at day 1 and just keep on going, and we will make sure to document the entire journey so you can get the full story. Thanks a lot for watching the video.